Why not renounce your titles as Duke and Duchess?
And what difference would that make?
One of the criticisms that you've received is that, okay, fine, you want to move to California, you want to step back from the institutional role. Why be so public? Why reveal conversations you've had with your father or with your brother? You say you tried to do this privately.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. You know, the family motto is never complain, never explain, but it's just a motto. And it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining.
Endless.
Private being done through leaks.
Through leaks.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
First, we're presented with this classic line from the documentary of how you'd be surprised what people will do so with for money. The irony there is crazy. Now with even more irony, here he's talking about people who would go to the media to complain and explain while he's going to the media to complain and explain. And I don't think this could be any better. And there's some body language in here. I'll leave it to you guys. But there's an emotional accessing. And Greg will probably explain this better than I can. But he gets emotional around saying these words, never complain, never explain. Maybe you can educate me why that happens down in the comments. Greg?
Yeah, I think there's nothing new here. We've seen this guy for so long. There's a ton of details coming out. So I'm not going to cover the body language except for a very small part. And I will cover that eye accessing cue, Chase. But there's nothing new. Before body language, I would say this guy has some fractures. When you think about a pearl, if you've got a fracture and you just keep laying layers on top of it, you still got a cracked pearl. This guy's a cracked pearl. So the best compliment I can usually pay a person is they're cohesive in their thought. This guy's either stupid or really comfortable in cognitive dissonance. I'm going to give him the benefit of a doubt and say stupid. That's number one. Then I'm going to say I don't think he's brilliant, and maybe he's just got poor processor. I don't know what the hell's going on with him, but as I watch him, I keep paying attention to him. Why would you want an award that was granted by the very organization you despise? We see it all the time with peer-granted awards where people are peer-granted and they hate the people who are granting them because they don't feel fair until they get that award. It's in hobbies. It's everywhere. So that leads me to think if he's stupid, he also is arrogant and he's entitled. We know that by watching him. I call that the trifecta to become a pawn. And he's quickly becoming a pawn. Has no idea what's going on with him. So we got that trifecta. He does a tongue jut and disdain as he's talking about exactly that. Chase, and by tongue jut, we push something out. Disdain, we pull our face up. And you're right. He goes to downright eye accessing to say, complain and explain. And his blink rate goes through the roof when he's challenged. I don't think he expected this. And in my Army days, I would say, if people have been pounding sunlight up your rear end so long you think you're a flashlight, I think that's what we got. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, let's drill into it even more, what he's thinking and maybe feeling around complain and explain, and that what he calls the motto there. So he says it's just a motto, and if you slow down just after that, you'll see contempt. That's when the side of the mouth, one side of the mouth comes up. That suggests that he is against that value in some way, or that he believes that that value is hypocritical. It's probably the latter. Probably that he's going, look, that's hypocritical. There's also an eyes narrowing. That's one of the signals of anger as well. So he's angry about this. There's contempt around that. And then the eyes close as well as he moves back slightly. I would put that down to rejection. So he's rejecting that motto. He's angry and contemptuous around how hypocritical he feels it is. But of course, Chase, to your point, it's kind of, the irony is a little too thick to even be believable around that. It's hard to believe he doesn't know the irony that's going on there. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe we'll find out further along this. Scott, what you got on this one?
I like this at the beginning because he looks like he's listening. He's doing the classic where you lean forward a little bit and get one ear toward that person and you kind of look at him like you're listening. So I think he's handling that well. I think that might be part of how they train them to do interviews, how to look like they're listening, how to be involved. Then we hear this fading facts when he says, what difference would that make? Because I think you're right, Greg. I don't think he was ready for this. I think he probably got a list of questions because quite often they'll do that. So we're going to do it, but what are you going to ask? He may not have seen that coming because I think you're right. It catches him off guard. Then we start hearing those sniffs again. Now there are a series of sniffs through this thing. And the last time on the last video we did, everybody thinks this cat's gacked out on blow. And it's like, no, he's not. He's got like some kind of a cold or something. I think he's taking an antihistamine that finally kicks in when the sniffing stops in a couple of videos. So that's my take on that. I don't think he's on drugs or anything. I still don't think that. So there's that. Now, another thing is these tongue juts, or are these tongue juts, whatever is grammatically correct. We see tons of these. I think I stopped counting at 12 as we go through this. There are a couple of ones like the one you're talking about, Greg, where they're actually juts that mean what we know them to mean. The rest of them, he's just licking his lips, and it's part of a grooming thing, because I think he's probably on an antihistamine, and it's drying his mouth up, so he keeps licking his lips. And again, when he puts his finger up to his nose and sniffs, that's classic. I've got a cold or I've got the sniffles. So I think that's what we're seeing there. Yeah, so I'll leave it there. All right, we're good.
Yeah, actually, just let me back you up on that one, Scott, in that people have said, oh, but look at the dilated pupils. Well, pseudoepinephrine creates dilated pupils. So, and that's probably what he's taking to try and dry up that sniffle.
And over-the-counter, not only over-the-counter prescription drugs, there are many that do that have to do with the tension and that kind of thing. So it could be any of that.
Strong coffee will do that.
Why not renounce your titles as Duke and Duchess?
And what difference would that make?
One of the criticisms that you've received is that, okay, fine, you want to move to California, you want to step back from the institutional role. Why be so public? Why reveal conversations you've had with your father or with your brother? You say you tried to do this privately.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. The family motto is never complain, never explain, but it's just a motto. And it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining.
Endless.
Private being done through leaks.
Through leaks.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.